Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. A few weeks ago I installed the F-GT Elite Ferrari edition from Next Level Racing, but I didn't get to test it out properly because I was waiting for a special package in order to finish this build. But now I have received this package and I am super excited about it because it is a full Asetek bundle, a full setup, and it is going to be my first experience with Asetek, so I am super hyped about it and I can't wait to show you guys what I received. And in this particular box is one of Asetek's newest products. It is the Invicta THORP2 pedals, which features a proper hydraulic brake that I am super excited to try out. So today I'm going to be unboxing all of these products and show you exactly what I have, and then I'm going to be installing them on the rig so that I can have a full proper build to test out both the rig and the gear. But before we get started, if you love sim racing as much as I do, please subscribe to the channel as I have a lot more content planned. Let's start with the highlight of this bundle, the Invicta pedals featuring THORP2 technology. Unboxing this was a delight. The branding of Asetek's boxes is top-notch and really presents as a premium product. First time in hand, and I can already feel the quality that it was built with. At $799, these pedals are no small investment. But they do not only feel great, they look impressive too. There is a nice combination of matte black components and silver pedal faces, with each adjustment point accented in vivid orange anodized aluminum. This orange color is very similar to the one on my Simicube gear. I don't know who copied who, but I'm a fan either way. The branding is clear, with Asetek Sim Sports prominently displayed on each pedal arm, the Asetek logo expertly etched on top of the base plate twice, and the THORP2 etched into the hydraulic cylinder housing. It also has a built-in LED strip. It should be noted that the two pedals cannot be taken off the plate, so installing them may be a bit limiting depending on your setup. For $50 more, you can, and probably should, opt for the S series. This separates the two pedals onto their own plate, so you have more freedom, including the ability to invert them. If you want a clutch pedal, that's an additional $249. Included in the accessories box are the necessary cables, elastomer kit, travel guides, and a spare spring. Asetek offers 3 direct drive wheelbases, the La Prima at 12 Nm, the Forte at 18, and the Invicta at 27. I'll be testing the La Prima. At $679, it places itself at a more premium price point versus its direct competitors, the Moza R12 and the Simagic Alpha Evo. I recently tested those wheelbases back to back, so be sure to check out that video. The Asetek features a 22-bit encoder offering a resolution of 4 million steps in a single revolution of the wheel. That's nearly double what you get in the 21-bit encoders of the Moza and Simagic. However, as explained in my previous videos, at that level of precision, it will be difficult to feel the difference. Taking it out of its box, I immediately noticed how heavy this wheelbase is. When it comes to the wheelbase, again, this one is a 12 Nm, and I can tell you that it is definitely much heavier than the other 12 Nm that I've tested, including the R12 from Moza and the Simagic Alpha Evo. Build quality wise, you can tell Asetek isn't messing around here. It's made of extruded aluminum and steel, although with plastic front and end caps. Visually, I have to say it's not my favorite. Whereas I would prefer a sleeker, cleaner look, Asetek's wheelbases have a rugged, industrial aesthetic defined by sharp lines and horizontal ridges that run along their body, giving them almost a heatsink-like appearance. There is an unfortunate cut in the middle which breaks the flow. On the back, you can see the features that were cut to accommodate the lower price point. Whereas the Forte and Invicta have 5 USB ports and a connector for the emergency torque button, they are absent on the La Prima. The Asetek line of wheelbases do not come with a power button on the device itself. Instead, they provide this power button, which you can mount on your rig. The warranty is good for 2 years. That's 1 more year than the Simagic or Moza. I performed a quick cogging test to see if I could feel each step in the motor as I turned. It's much smoother than the Moza R12 and my Fanatec DD1, but slightly less than the new Simagic Alpha Evo and my Simicube 2 Pro. Keeping in line with Asetek's upgradable ecosystem, if you already own a La Prima wheelbase, Asetek offers a handy upgrade kit for $199 that ups its power to 16 Nm of torque. One vulnerability of the quick release are how exposed these pins are. They are made to be pushed down on without issue, but it's when you hit them from the side that damage can be done. It will cost you $25 to get a replacement board if that does happen, so be careful. Asetek offers the Invicta quick release for $99 so that you can use any third-party steering wheel on this wheelbase. The Forte Formula button box retails for $499, not including the handles, and is made of carbon fiber, glass, and plastic composite materials. It feels lightweight but rigid. It comes with 2 magnetic shifter paddles which are simple to install, and you have the option to upgrade to dual clutch paddles and or input paddles for a total of 6. A comprehensive sticker sheet is also included. The button box features 12 push buttons, 2 7-way funky switches, 3 rotary encoders, 6 thumb encoders, and 2 2-way toggle switches. Here's what everything sounds like. Just like for the wheelbase, Asetek offers a third-party quick-release adapter for their steering wheels, allowing you to use Asetek's wheels on non-Asetek wheelbases. And if you're not a fan of the aluminum button color on your button box, Asetek offers a kit with 6 different colors for $89. Now let's talk about the handles. I'm a huge fan of the ability to buy the handles you want, and they were very easy to install. I was sent the LMP handles, which are closed bottom. Standard open bottom formula handles, both in plastic or suede, are available for a little more, and XL handles are available for those with larger hands. Right, so everything is out of the box, and I have to say I am very impressed with the quality of the products. Everything looks amazing. I especially like the pedals. I think they look so cool. I love the branding that they have. I love how there is the Invicta here as well. The pedal plate is of course integrated in the entire thing, so I think it's going to be super easy to install. And there is that cool kind of metallic orange color which reminds me a lot of the Simucube, which I like very much. And for the Forte Formula button box, it looks absolutely amazing. It is super light as well. There's the traditional carbon fiber on the front, and it is a forged one for the rest of the box. And I think the design is really cool. I like how they also have the bronze accents on those buttons here that are matching the pedals. And lastly, we have the LMP handles. And I have to say, when I took them out of the box initially, I didn't like really the way they look because it looks really plasticky. But actually, if you press it down, it is a softer materials. I'm really curious to see how that's gonna feel like, because it's a little bit slippery, not sticky at all, which I like, but I'm wondering over time if it's gonna be that comfortable driving with it. Attaching the 2 shifter paddles was also super simple, and you can slightly adjust the length to adapt to your preference. Like the Forte Formula button box, they're made of a composite material. If you want something fancier, you can get the carbon paddles kit made fully of carbon fiber. But for now, I need to get everything installed, so let's start with the pedals. Right guys, so I just finished installing the pedals, and I wanted to show you the different adjustments that you can make on the brake pedal. The first main adjustment is done by loosening this orange screw and removing the brake rod. You can then reposition the rod into the lower attack point for those who want a lighter pedal. And while you have it off, you can also adjust the angle of the pedal arm by loosening the bottom orange thumb screw here, moving the pedal in your desired position, and adjusting the top screw to match it. The second one is in there, so I'm gonna open it and show you. There's actually 2 things in here. First one are those travel guides. They allow you to change the pedal travel, and as you can see, you have 2 different options, a shorter one and a longer one. And the last thing is the elastomer that is in there too, which you have 5 different options. They go from light green to dark red, and it basically is how strong the pedal will be. So that's the force that you can adjust. So I'm gonna go with probably a lighter one. I'm gonna use the green, and then you just have to close it back up, and then of course once I try it out, I'll see how it feels, if I like it, and I might change some of the settings depending on which car I'm driving. Keep in mind that these elastomers are only there to adjust the force needed to get to the hard stage of the brake pedal, which is the point where this pedal differentiates itself from everything else. That second stage is the point where the pedal becomes really hard and you start pushing against the hydraulic forces. This is meant to mimic the feeling of when you're braking in a real race car. Think of the soft stage being the initial pressure required to get the brake pads to compress on the rotors. The benefits of a short and hard brake pedal is threefold. Get to your max pressure faster, develop your muscle memory easier, and more control of trail braking. So next thing on the list is the wheelbase. So I'm going to be installing it. As you see, it's going to be mounted directly from the bottom, and because it already has the T-nuts that are included in there, it should be super easy. So I just finished installing the wheelbase and the steering wheel, and actually the wheelbase did not fit on this mount, so I had to be a little bit creative to make it work. It's gonna be fine for this video, but definitely I would recommend going with the front mount since this wheelbase allows it. It's usually better than the top mount, and I would definitely in the future get that one from Next Level Racing to make sure that I can install the wheelbase properly. In terms of the steering wheel, I actually really like the quick release. It is so easy. It goes in and out with like zero issue. It actually feels super easy. It feels like it wouldn't hold, but it feels super strong. The wheelbase so far is feeling nice and smooth, so I'm super excited to try it out. But before I plug everything in, I really need to adjust the rig, because as you can see, I am way too far from the pedals, too far from the wheelbase, so I think I'm gonna need to both get the seat closer, but also I'm gonna have to move the pedals because it is too far. So let's get everything adjusted now so that tomorrow when we come back, we're ready for the final test. Alright guys, it is day 2 and I finally installed everything. I'm pretty much ready to test this thing out. I have the software installed and updated for the Asetek gear as well. But before I do so, I want to show you something super special and I am super excited about. It is a completely new PC from Alexander PCs. I am in awe every time I look at it. It just looks so amazing and it has some amazing specs, so I know it's gonna make the experience even better, but I will do a full review video very soon on it, so make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss it. And since I have such an amazing setup, it would be a shame not to have great sound to go with it. So let me introduce a new product that I just received from Oxus. It is called the Thunder Pro Plus. It is a 7.1.2 channel gaming sound system with Dolby Atmos. So let me show you guys what's inside the box. So here's what makes this product so special. It actually comes in 2 parts. One Soundbar, which is the 5.1.2 channel with a maximum power output of 180 watts. This thing packs a punch. The desktop soundbar features 2 up-firing speakers with built-in subwoofers, 2 front-firing speakers, and 2 side surrounding speakers. I'm actually really surprised how light and compact this thing is, knowing how much power this thing has. It's actually super nice and very light, and I think the look is really sleek, really nice matte finish, so I'm excited to get that installed. But it also comes with a neck speaker, which adds 2 channels to the full sound system. I'm actually super curious to see how that's gonna work for sim racing. I'm gonna see how I can integrate that onto the back of my seat. I don't think I'm gonna be able to put it right behind my neck because I don't think it's gonna be super comfortable, but I'm sure I can put it maybe in the back, and I'll definitely give it a try later just to see how cool this is. Head to the end of the video to watch the rest of my review, including my first reaction after testing the speakers in one of the best sounding cars in iRacing. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. Back to the topic of this video, this rig and the gear. There are a couple things that I wanted to show you guys that I realized when I was adjusting the rig for me, and the first one is related to the frame of the rig, and it is about this uprights. As you can see, they go quite high, and when you're sitting in the seat, they are actually kind of in the way of the monitor. Of course, it will depend on the monitor that you have and how it is placed exactly, but I think overall it's just slightly too high. I think they could have made it definitely shorter. I don't think anyone will ever need to put their wheelbase that high, so that's a downside. And the other one is on the pedal side. One thing that I realized when I was trying to adjust and put the pedals closer to me is that those brackets here on both sides, they're really in the way because they're in between the 2 plates that allow you to attach your pedals. And so if you want to move it forward, you need to basically jump this bracket completely, which means that you would move the pedals a huge deal up front. So there's definitely a lack of optionality when it comes to installing your pedals. I think for this one specifically, it is bad because they are attached directly to this plate and you're not really able to move them around. But maybe with other types of pedals, or if you're using a second base plate that you would put on top of this, you would have a lot more options to move them front and back. But in this case, it's definitely not optimal. Other than that, I really like the look of this rig again, and the other adjustments were actually really good. The seat sliders are really different from the one that I'm used to, that are usually just levers that you have in front of the seat. As you can see here, you have 2 handles on each side, which you can untie and once you do, you can move the seat back and forth really easily. Now when it comes to the Asetek gear, I already told you I really like the look of the steering wheel, but with the lights on it looks even more amazing. I really like the finish on it. I think it looks so cool, and the pedals actually also have an RGB strip, which I think looks just amazing. I didn't realize that was on until I plugged them and turned them on, but I think it's a nice add-on and a nice touch from Asetek. Asetek's software is called RaceHub and is pretty standard fare, allowing you to calibrate and customize your devices to your exact preference. The LED section of the software was particularly well done, allowing for fast and easy customization of lights, from changing the static color that is shown when you're not using them, to enabling telemetry-based effects like traction control and ABS, and of course things like flags and safety cars. Right guys, it's time to put this new setup to the test. As usual, we're gonna try it in iRacing, and I am in the M2 CSR. And I'm gonna start by talking about the rig itself and the seat. As I mentioned earlier, the main downside of this rig really for me are those side aluminum parts that are just way too high. They're actually definitely in my field of vision. It's hiding some of my telemetry, but other than that, the rig is super sturdy. I've been doing quite a few laps. I've been really pushing and it's definitely super sturdy, nothing to complain about. I've been really trying to shake it, and the base plate is super strong, everything is strong, nothing is moving, so definitely passed that test with flying colors. Now when it comes to the seat, I actually really like it. It is super comfortable, I like the design of it. It's really soft material as well, so there is really nothing to complain about. And then of course you have, if you want, you can put the harness on, which is a cool feature add-on. But now let's talk about the gear, the Asetek gear, and let's start with the wheelbase. And as I said in many of my videos before, it is really hard to review wheelbases because they are just all so similar nowadays, and while some of them are definitely standing out because they're really next level, most of them, they're just really good, and it's mostly a question of habit. And once you're used to a specific wheelbase, it just becomes your baseline, and they're all really good. And it all comes down to really the force feedback algorithm that they are using and the settings that you use as well when you're driving. So I have to say there are no big surprises there. It is doing its job really well. It feels nice. It is pretty smooth. I did feel on the very slow corners maybe where I feel slightly bit of grain, but I actually think it is the force feedback rather than the wheelbase itself. One thing that I've mentioned before is really when it comes to realism. So when I was comparing, for example, my SimuCube 2 Pro to some of the other cheaper wheelbases such as the SimMagic or the Moza, the SimuCube really feels super immersive. There is nothing that you can tell is coming from the wheelbase. Like everything that you feel is directly in the steering wheel, and some of those cheaper wheelbases you can kind of feel that, you know, it is coming from the motor of your wheelbase, and that's kind of what I feel here too. I think that kind of like very slight grainy sensation is actually more of the force feedback itself rather than the wheelbase, but it does feel like it's coming more from the wheelbase. So again, I think it's just because I'm not used to it and I'm so used to the wheelbase that I drive all the time that this one just feels slightly different, but it's doing its job perfectly, nothing to complain about. I do think it's a little bit, in a sense, outdated now, but it's more in terms of the value. I think other brands are offering the same performance for cheaper, including SimMagic and Moza. If you take their 12 Newton meters wheelbases, they all have those newer, higher encoders. This one is actually a 22 bits, which is even better than the SimMagic or the Moza. However, as I mentioned in my previous videos, when you get to that level of precision for the encoder, it really doesn't matter anymore. I don't think you can really feel or tell the difference, and it becomes more a question of durability at this point. So definitely this is a great wheelbase, just maybe a little bit too expensive now when it comes to comparing to the competition and what else is on the market right now. When it comes to the button box, I really like it a lot. I think it looks amazing, feels great. Of course, all the carbon fiber, all the LED lights, the buttons feel good. However, when it comes to the handles and the grip, those are definitely not my favorite. I'm gonna be completely honest. The material is very weird. It's actually the first one that I've tried like this, and it feels like plastic. I don't know if it is plastic. It is softer than a regular, plastic, but the feel of it, it is very slippery. It doesn't look that great. It doesn't feel that great, even though you can push it and it's not like rock hard, but when you're actually holding it in your hands, it feels really hard, and it's just not a very nice feeling. And that's actually the reason why I'm wearing the gloves. And I think they are definitely aiming at, making you feel as close as possible as if you were in a race car, and I'll get to that when I talk about the pedals as well. If you're used to other type of materials like rubber or elastomers, this is just not the best one, definitely. And they have other ones that are available. They have one that is in the suede material, which I would like a lot better. However, it is only for the Formula type handles, so those are the ones that are straight down and that are not completely closed. Now the other thing are the pedals. Those are fine. I like the fact that they are very quiet, very discreet, as you can tell. I've tried some that were super loud, so this is definitely much better. However, they are still quite far from me. I showed before that I actually extended them so that they would stick out a little bit more, and for my small hands it's a nice option to have, but actually it's barely enough, so I still feel like I have to stretch my fingers quite a bit to reach them. They do their job, and of course you can add more as well. I only have the 2 right now, but you can go up to 6 if you wanted to, so I like that flexibility. So let's talk about the most important part of this setup, and it is the hydraulic pedals, the THORP2. Those are definitely very different from anything I've tried before, and as you can see, I'm driving quite slow and I'm struggling quite a bit because it takes definitely some time to get used to. I've been playing with the settings, I've been changing, adjusting them so that they can feel the way that I like. Those hydraulic pedals are really made to feel like a real race car. This is really the goal of these pedals, and I think they've definitely achieved that. That is quite realistic. However, it is fairly different from what I am used to. It's very different from both a traditional load cell pedal and the active pedal as well. And the reason is you are getting a 2-step in the braking, and the reason for that is how they're actually built. So I showed you earlier in terms of the adjustments that there is that part with the elastomer in there, which allows you to decide how strong or what force you need for the brake, and that is basically related to the first step of the pedal. But the second step is really where the hydraulic comes in, and the second step, the force is against the oil that's in the pedal, so it requires a lot more force, and definitely you have to get used to that step. And I think it's really good in terms of getting consistency. So over time, I think you'll get that muscle memory that will allow you to really become very precise with your inputs, know exactly how much pressure you're applying, and it forces you to be gentle with the pedal at the beginning, but also then when you apply more pressure, you can really work on your trail braking and make sure that you are applying the same pressure consistently. Now, as I said, this is made to feel like a race car, and that is why the pedal itself is really stiff, really hard. But Asetek listened to their customers, and they know there are a lot of people in sim racing that are not necessarily just looking for immersion, but they want to have fun and they don't really want to be using a lot of force, you know, all the times.
We have a lot of, let's call it couch potatoes, who's just doing casual racing.
So that's the reason why they are now offering so many adjustments within the pedal, including, you know, the strength, but also pedal travel and all of these different options. And when you go into the software, you also have multiple options in terms of the curve that you're applying. So I actually changed the curve that I have right now so that I need less force on that first step, which means that my first step right now goes all the way to about 50% brake. But if you use the linear curve, which is the baseline curve, you will only get to about 30%, and for me it was just not enough. I felt like every time I was braking I would need to really apply a ton of force, and it was just very difficult.
To make it easier to press for those of you who skipped leg day.
So I think at least until I get used to this new setup, this curve is much better for me. And then if you want it even stiffer, then you can go the opposite side, where that first step is really short and it's only about, I think, maybe 20% of your brake. And I think it's probably the best way if you want to be really, really precise. But again, I think it takes time to get used to it, and I'm definitely not at that point yet. Now when it comes to the feel of the pedals themselves, I have to say the faceplate has all those little circles and they are definitely quite sharp, if I'm being completely honest. So usually when I sim race, I use my socks with grips, which is for me the most comfortable, and I really like to just not have to use shoes. But with these pedals it was just not possible because it would hurt my feet too much. So I tried with shoes, but I do not have proper racing shoes, so I decided to use my sim racing socks from Sparko, which come with a sole that goes inside of the socks. So it is a lot better now that I have that, because I cannot feel the faceplate anymore. So the other thing that I want to mention about the pedals is the light strip at the front. I think it is a very cool feature that they've added, and it actually follows your telemetry, so the lights change based on how much throttle or brake you're applying. So I think it is a cool add-on, even though you can't necessarily see it when you're driving. I think it's just a super cool, like, nice feature that I've never seen before. So I always appreciate those little things that make a product just unique and stand out from the rest. In order to give a proper chance to the pedals, I ran this setup for a couple of weeks and tried it across multiple cars and track combos. As I mentioned before, it does take time to get used to the hydraulic system, but once you do, the value becomes very clear, especially when it comes to building muscle memory and improving consistency. If, like me, you do not drive a true race car regularly, it might not make a big difference in terms of realism or immersion, but I have to say, when I jumped into the Formula Renault 3.5, I could definitely tell that this would probably come closer to the real thing, with shorter pedal travel, higher resistance, and pressure-based response. I tried different resistance settings, and while I started with one of the softest elastomers, I was able to go for a firmer one after getting used to it. I think over time this would definitely make me a better driver in real life. So if your goal is to get as close as possible to a real race car feel, or if you're training for real racing, this is definitely your best bet. At $799, it's definitely an investment, but it's a great, cheaper alternative than active pedals. Alright, so this is pretty much it. I think overall this is really a nice setup. When it comes to the wheelbase, there's nothing really special about it, but it's doing its job really well. I really like that button box. If you could have just different handles, it would be absolutely perfect. But it all comes down to the pedals for this Asetek bundle. I think they are really unique and special. It is different from anything else that I've tried so far, and while there is definitely a learning curve in terms of getting used to those pedals, and they might not be for everybody, I really like the fact that Asetek is making an effort to bring things that are really immersive, that really take you to the next level of thinking like you're in a real race car. And I think that is super unique, and I really love that. So if that's what you're looking for, don't hesitate, you're gonna love those. Now when it comes to the rig itself, it does its job really well. It is very rigid. I really love the seat and the fact that you can move the seat to more of a Formula position or back to a GT position. It is super comfortable, so no complaints about that. The only thing for me is, of course, one big flaw, which is making the whole experience a little bit less enjoyable. Of course, I could always just change those two parts here, get shorter ones, and that would fix the issue. So not that big of a deal, but definitely something to keep in mind if you're looking to buy this rig. Alright, so I just launched iRacing for the first time after properly setting up the Oxus Thunder Pro Plus, and I'm about to test it out in one of the best sounding cars in iRacing, the Formula Renault 3.5. I haven't even started the car yet, but I can tell you that just here with the surround sound and the Dolby Atmos, I can hear so much more than I've ever heard before in the game. It's actually super cool. I have all the bird and insect noises behind me. That next speaker, as you can see, I put it behind just because it wasn't too comfortable in this seat, but it still really adds to the immersion, so I really like it. But now it's time to see how the car sounds in the game. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. It's so cool. It sounds insane actually. It's super loud, so I don't know if you can hear me, but let's rev it. Oh my gosh, it sounds so good. Also, I really feel like I'm in the car because I can hear it in the front, but also right behind me. So it's actually pretty insane. It's really cool. So let's take it out. Oh my gosh. I didn't actually know what to expect. I wasn't sure it was going to be that special, but it definitely is. Closer look at the Thunder Pro Plus by Oxus, and the first thing that I want to mention is the proper setup, because there are actually 5 different ways that you can connect this thing to your PC or your TV. But in my case, because I was trying to set it up to my PC for sim racing games, it was actually a little bit trickier than I expected. So let me show you exactly what I've done. The problem that I had when I started setting it up is that I could not use the Dolby Atmos. So it was working, but I didn't get the sound that I was expecting out of it. So what I figured out is that you have to use an HDMI cable directly from your graphics card to the HDMI in of the soundbar, and that will allow you to really use the Dolby Atmos. But you also will have to download the app, the Dolby Access, on your computer to be able to get the full surround system. Because you will be plugging it through the HDMI directly into the video card, it's gonna act pretty much as a second display and not as an audio output directly. So you will need to really go into actually your system and then display, and basically number 2 will now be the soundbar. That's how you're really going to be able to use the Dolby Atmos and the surround sound. And if you want to use the wireless next speaker like I did, there is a USB dongle that you can just plug into the soundbar, and you can then pair them very easily. So as you can see here, it attaches very easily with just this. It's very stretchable, so it will adapt to pretty much any seat that you want. And in my case, I put it upside down just so that I would actually have the left and the right side still proper, because I put it in the back of the seat and not in the front. But let me show you what it would look like basically if you had it on your neck. But as you can see, this seat is just not really adapted for this, and it's not super comfortable. I can show you. It just makes my head too forward for this seat specifically, but other seats it would work really good, and it's actually still very comfortable, very soft materials. I think it would be super relaxing if I could actually use it, but this seat is just not made for it, so it still works great by putting it in the back of the seat. So once you have it plugged, you will be able to change the colors on this, and of course all of the settings for the sound directly in the app. So let me show you, because as you will see right now, it is not actually being detected because I am plugged in through HDMI, and you need to plug it through USB to be able to use the app. So I'm going to do that right now. They provide the cable, so it is a USB-C on the soundbar side, and it is a traditional USB on the other side, and that should allow you then, as you can see, to now make changes to the device. So when you go in, you can see on the left in the menu that you can change the lighting, the EQ preset, the gain, and the different settings. For example, the color, if you want to go pink or blue, green, you can basically change it, and you can also change the brightness. So is the Thunder Pro Plus worth it? As you know, just like a lot of sim racers, I usually race with my headphones on for two reasons. The first one is that, of course, it makes no noise for everybody else in the house, but the second one is that I don't really have a great sound system anyway, so it's actually better to have the sound directly in my ears. However, now that I've tested this soundbar, I can tell you there is something special about having a truly great sound system. It takes the immersion to the next level, and having this kind of sound that envelops the entire room, it just makes the experience so much special. And I think you've seen it. I just had a big smile on my face the entire time because it just felt like I was in there. And I think if I had a butt kicker on this setup along with this sound system, it would be just amazing, and I would actually definitely recommend trying that. The other thing that I really appreciate about this soundbar is that it is super light, so I can imagine myself just taking it to my TV if I want to watch a great movie, you know, with even this pillow behind my neck. I think it would be super immersive, it would be super comfortable. So I really like the fact that it has this versatility. So if you're interested in buying one of this, I will put the link in the description below, and actually they will have a sale for Prime Day on July 8th, so don't miss it. And with that, that's gonna be a wrap for today's video. So if you enjoyed watching, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.